Welcome back. President Trump rejecting Iran's response to the latest U.S. proposal to end the Iranian conflict. The president said on Truth Social, quote, "I have just read the response from Iran's so-called representatives. I don't like it. Totally unacceptable," writes the president. Now, Iran reportedly is demanding an immediate end to the conflict. It is demanding a gradual reopening of the Strait of Hormuz in exchange for the U.S. lifting its blockade. And it says it wants a delay of any nuclear talks by at least 1 month. Joining me now is Texas Congressman Pat Fallon, a member of the House Armed Services and Intelligence Committees. He's also the chairman of the Military Personnel Subcommittee and served on the United States Air Force. Congressman, it's great to see you. Thanks so much for being here. And I always thank you for your service to our great nation. But I want to get your take on this response from Iran. No wonder the president says it's totally unacceptable. They completely blow off what the president is saying, which is no nuclear weapons.
Right. They're not living within the bounds of reality, Maria. And the point is, a fact that they need to recognize in Tehran is their storage capacity for oil is running out. And if that happens, they're going to have to shut wells off. And those wells will never produce again to the capacity they are now. They may lose 70% of their capacity, which will really bankrupt their economy. So they're in a very precarious situation. The problem is the IRGC, that wing, that faction in government right now, doesn't even care if Iran is burnt to the ground as long as they can rule over the ashes. And that's an issue that's keeping us from achieving a deal.
Yeah, and, I know that the dynamic changed completely after this war with China. And the president, of course, is preparing for this high-stakes summit with Xi Jinping this week. The first president to go to China since 2017, when the president went to China himself in 2017. The president will arrive in Beijing on Wednesday for a 2-day visit. And the Iran conflict is a major topic of discussion after what the president has done with regard to oil. Now, the Wall Street Journal is writing this morning this. Xi Jinping also wants the fighting to stop as Middle East turmoil restricts China's oil supply and shrinks the country's ability to buy Chinese goods. Congressman, I know you recently introduced a bill countering the growing influence by the CCP in Africa through debt trap diplomacy. Tell me about debt trap diplomacy. Explain to our audience what that is and what your bill seeks to do.
Well, the Belt and Road Initiative is something that China has done rather cleverly and slyly, is to get these third world nations that have, teetering economies and say, hey, look, do you need a new road, need a new bridge? It's usually involving infrastructure. Oh, we'll build it for you. And mostly with Chinese imported labor, and then you owe us, and then there's this trap where these countries are going to have a very difficult time repaying it. And then that allows China to exert more influence. It's all over the globe. It's particularly in Africa, it's particularly important. And we want to do everything we can to mitigate that. And we need to free up some of our foreign aid to be, we need to do it intelligently to counter China's influence and also structure it to where these nations can repay us.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to think about some of the topics that the president will raise in China this week, because the Iran war is sort of dominating. But there are other things, like things that China wants. For example, they want to have their cars in the U.S. And Senator Bernie Moreno from Ohio joined me yesterday and is trying to stop that. Here's what he said. Watch.
These cars have lots of cameras. They send back data to the Communist Party and can be remotely controlled by the Communist Party. Could you imagine letting those vehicles into the U.S.? And that's why it's important to get this legislation across the finish line. And I'm certain that President Trump, we can get that to his desk, hopefully by Labor Day.
There's anywhere, from half a dozen to a dozen cameras on these cars. So whatever's on those cameras is sent back to the CCP?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can imagine somebody working at an Air Force base. They drive in. These things are surveilling the Air Force base. They also know who's driving the vehicle, their habits, where they go, where they come from. We would never allow Americans to purchase surveillance devices from the Communist Party of China, and that's exactly what these automobiles are. So our bill insists that not happen. It hermetically seals the U.S. market. These cars are about 20 to 30% cheaper than most cars because they're massively subsidized. These are basically little Trojan horses that they're throwing all over the globe.
So if we were to have a conflict with China at any point, are you saying that the Chinese Communist Party could control those cars and have them go crashing into things all day long?
Yeah, these are connected vehicles, so they could actually take over the driving of the vehicle, lock the doors, roll up the windows, and crash the vehicle into sensitive sites. This is the technology that exists in these Chinese cars. We're just not going to let that into our market.
So I thought that was so interesting, Congressman. Your reaction?
Well, I think the senator is absolutely right. And it's not only just a free and fair trade issue, because the Chinese won't allow us to have access to their markets fully, and yet they want and desire to sell their cars in the United States. So it's a fair and free trade issue, one. But two, as the senator is pointing out, this is a security, it's a national security issue. This is a hard no, absolutely not. You cannot have access to our markets with the technologies that are currently in play in those cars.
Yeah, I'd like to know if the president is going to get China to start buying our oil. Because, of course, China has got to be feeling the pressure after President Trump's actions in Venezuela, Iran, even the comments on Cuba. Do you expect that to be on the table?
It has to be, because China gets almost half of their oil from the Persian Gulf, and there is a blockade right now, so they're in big trouble. Those boats are on the water for about 2 months, so they're really going to start feeling the pinch. And I believe 37% of all oil that leaves the Strait of Hormuz goes to China. So it's really an amazing thing. They're in trouble right now. They're in deep trouble.
All right, let me get your take on the business at hand and all of these reconciliation plans. Congress expected to spend much of the month on that $72 billion reconciliation package specifically to fund immigration enforcement. The president wants that on his desk by June 1st, but there's also momentum building for a third reconciliation bill aimed at affordability ahead of the midterms, a package of housing policies, anti-fraud measures, military funding, certainly, and tax cuts, as well as perhaps parts of the Save America Act and election-related proposal. What are you expecting?
I do think we'll get Reconciliation 2.0 over the finish line in time to be on the president's desk by the end of this month. It's very skinny, but as you saw with the votes, we barely got it past the finish line, as skinny as it is right now. So Reconciliation 3.0 is a very good idea. I'd love to see the SAVE Act in some form or fashion, because if we don't have fair, honest, open, and transparent elections, Maria, we don't have a republic, and it's that important.
Yeah, absolutely. Congressman, it's great to see you as always. Thank you.
Thanks, Maria. God bless. Take care.
We'll see you soon. Congressman Pat Fallon. We'll be right back. Stay with us.